Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. She didn't slam the door, she rewired the exit to vanish, and left you wondering if she was ever real. There's something unsettling about a woman who doesn't just leave. She evaporates. No warning, no tearful monologue, no dramatic farewell playlist. Just gone. Here's a fact to chew on. According to multiple psychological studies on attachment and self-reliance, individuals with high self-differentiation, like Sigma females, are the least likely to stay in toxic, performative, or emotionally unprofitable relationships. Not because they're heartless, but because they know staying would be the real betrayal. And let's be honest, while most people talk about cutting off the drama, the Sigma female does it with the finesse of a hitman and the calm of a librarian. She doesn't ghost you. She buries the bridge under silence and builds a fortress where your access card used to be. So, if you've ever been left stunned, speechless, or spiritually sucker-punched by a woman who exited your life without a trace, you might have just encountered the Sigma female. Today we're breaking down exactly how she burns bridges, with precision, purpose, and zero regret, and why she doesn't lose sleep over it. Get ready, because this isn't just detachment, it's art. And she's the architect with the match in her hand. Number 1. She considers second chances as emotional inflation. To the Sigma female, giving second chances isn't noble. It's a discount she refuses to offer twice. She doesn't operate from the emotional bargain bin, where people get unlimited chances to disrespect her boundaries and still expect VIP access to her life. For her, a second chance feels like emotional inflation, where her standards are devalued and her worth gets negotiated. That's a trade she will never make. When someone crosses her once, she doesn't just look at the action. She studies the pattern behind it. Was it a mistake or a habit? Was it carelessness or calculation? And most importantly, was it something that revealed the truth of who that person really is, beneath the charm and convenience? If the answer exposes a deeper misalignment, there's no "let's talk about it." The bridge is already halfway torched in her mind. She knows people don't accidentally show you who they are. It leaks out in the way they dismiss your feelings, take you for granted, or play dumb about the damage they caused. And while most people convince themselves to forgive for the sake of peace, she knows that peace bought with lowered standards is just a ticking time bomb. She's not interested in emotional roulette. She doesn't give second chances because she understands the real cost. Not just time, not just trust, but self-respect. Every time she lets someone back in after they've shown their true colors, she chips away at her own integrity, and that to her is far worse than losing a person. People call her cold for walking away and not turning back, but what they don't see is the internal negotiation she's already had. She's weighed the connection against her own growth, and decided that some relationships are too expensive to renew. She doesn't hold grudges. She just holds the door open, so she can shut it permanently without a trace of guilt. Number 2, she's unfazed by being called cold, because she chooses to freeze what no longer feeds her. She's heard it before, cold, heartless, unbothered, as if those are insults. But she wears them like quiet medals, because what people call cold is often just a woman finally choosing not to bleed for what's been draining her. She doesn't react out of emotion. She responds with distance. And to her, that's not cruelty, it's clarity. She doesn't detach because she doesn't feel. She detaches because she's felt too much for too long, and finally realized that constantly pouring into others was leaving her bankrupt. So now, when something no longer feeds her, be it a relationship, a friendship, a conversation, or even a memory, she freezes it, not out of spite but survival. Detachment for her isn't shutting down. It's showing up for herself instead of others who only showed up when they needed something. It's a boundary with a backbone, not a glitch in her heart. She's not broken. She's just done giving warmth to hands that only ever knew how to take, never hold. And the truth is, most people don't know what to do with a woman who doesn't beg, chase, or explain, so they call her cold because she no longer plays along. They call her heartless because her heart has new priorities, but she's not broken and she's not bitter. She's just done being burned for being warm. The Sigma female doesn't freeze to punish. she freezes to protect. She's not performing silence, she's living in it. Because in her silence, there's strength. In her distance, there's power. And in her detachment, there's a woman who finally chose herself and never looked back. Number 3, she's not into revenge. Her absence is the revenge. She doesn't plot. She doesn't scheme. She doesn't waste time fantasizing about someone getting what they deserve. That's not her style. Revenge, to her, is a low-effort, high-drama game for people who still want attention from the ones who wronged them. The Sigma female. She simply removes herself, and that's enough to collapse entire dynamics. Her absence is the consequence, because when she leaves, she takes everything she once brought. The insight, the calm, the sharp intuition, the quiet support no one noticed until it was gone. She doesn't slam doors, she just becomes unreachable. And in that silence, the people who underestimated her begin to feel the weight of what they lost. Slowly, painfully, and without explanation. She knows that her value was never in grand gestures, but in the invisible work she did behind the scenes. The advice no one asked for but always needed. The loyalty she gave without demand. The emotional labor that held things together. When she walks, all of that goes with her. And suddenly, life around the people she left becomes just a little colder, a little more chaotic, a little emptier, and they don't know why. But she knows. She doesn't need karma to find them. She was the balance. She was the stability. She was the good thing they didn't know how to treat. Her withdrawal is the exact justice their behavior earned. No loud exit, no warning. Just the sharp void of someone who once made everything easier, now gone. And the best part? She won't be watching to see if they regret it. She's not checking their page, not asking mutual friends, not lurking in shadows for a reaction. She's already moved on, already evolving. Because unlike them, she doesn't need revenge to feel powerful. She just needs distance. And it does all the talking for her. Number 4. She understands the value of being misunderstood. She's long stopped explaining herself. Not because she has nothing to say, but because she knows most people only listen to defend, not to understand. She's mastered the rare art of letting people create whatever version of her they need to cope with the fact that she walked away and didn't look back. Being misunderstood used to bother her. She used to try clearing the air, fixing the narrative, softening the edges of her choices so others wouldn't feel hurt. Not anymore. Now she sees the power in letting people talk, twist the story, paint her as the villain. It doesn't touch her. In fact, it confirms she made the right call. She knows that when she burns a bridge, the smoke always draws attention, and with it, assumptions. People love to fill in the blanks. She changed. She switched up. She just cut me off. And she lets them say it, because trying to correct people who are committed to misunderstanding you, that's energy she'd rather invest in her evolution. Her silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. Every time she chooses not to respond, not to defend, not to react, she's reminding herself that her truth doesn't need a courtroom. She's not here to be liked, she's here to be free. Free from manipulation, free from guilt trips, free from the exhausting cycle of trying to prove she had a reason to leave. And yes, her silence can look like coldness. Her distance might look like arrogance, but those are just labels thrown by people who lost access to her. What they call ego is really her boundaries. What they call detachment is her peace finally taking up space. She's not afraid of being misunderstood, because she's no longer addicted to being seen in the right light. She'd rather be misjudged in truth than accepted in self-betrayal. That's not weakness, that's dominance. And she wears it in silence, like armor. Number 5. She burns bridges before the other person realizes there's a fire. She doesn't wait for the big betrayal. She doesn't need a dramatic explosion to make her leave. The Sigma female picks up on subtle shifts, the half-truths, the change in tone, the small disrespect wrapped in jokes. While others are still convincing themselves it's not a big deal, she's already reading the signs and drawing her exit route in her mind. By the time someone starts to sense distance, she's already gone. Not physically, but emotionally. Her energy has checked out, her investment has flatlined. Her mind is no longer in the relationship, even if her body still shows up out of habit. She's polite, she's composed, but the connection is dead. And the person on the other side doesn't even know they've been left behind. That's what makes her exits so unnerving. They're quiet, clean, and premeditated. No warning shots, no desperate arguments, just detachment disguised as composure. She doesn't announce the fire. She lets it burn behind the scenes while she calmly packs her piece and walks away with her dignity intact. And when the other person finally notices something is off, when they say, "You've changed," or "What's going on?" it's already too late. That question arrives after she's already emotionally moved out, changed the locks, and erased the map back to her. She doesn't do this to be cruel. She does it because she knows how people react when they sense you're pulling away. They promise change, they beg, they guilt trip, and she refuses to be emotionally manipulated into staying somewhere her intuition has already left. So she stays silent. She lets them sit in the comfort of false security until it suddenly disappears. That's how she burns bridges, in silence, with precision, and without ever needing to explain, because by the time someone smells smoke, she's already a ghost. Number 6. She knows that detachment is more strategic than confrontation. She's not interested in proving a point. She's interested in preserving her peace. Where most people choose confrontation as a way to demand change or validation, the Sigma female sees it for what it often is. A loop that leads nowhere. Arguing, pleading, justifying. Those are games played by people who still believe the other person cares enough to listen. She's already moved beyond that belief. When something feels wrong, whether it's a subtle shift in respect, repeated emotional neglect, or a one-sided dynamic, she doesn't start a fight. She starts withdrawing, not because she's afraid of conflict, but because she understands something deeper. The moment you have to explain basic decency, the connection is already broken. She knows words rarely fix behavior. People don't change because of arguments, they change because they want to. So instead of begging someone to meet her where she is, she quietly removes herself from the space where she's no longer seen or valued. That's not weakness, that's strategy. Confrontation often centers the other person's reaction. Detachment centers her own reality. She's not leaving because she wants to be right. She's leaving because she refuses to stay wrong about someone one more day. She doesn't want the last word. She wants her last moment in that dynamic to be silent and final. This is why people are so shaken when she's gone. There was no fight, no warning, no dramatic exit speech. Just a clean break and the uncomfortable echo of someone who will never engage with your nonsense again. It's not revenge, it's refusal. Not to punish, but to protect her time, her energy, her standards. She exits quietly, not because she's given up, but because she's finally realized that some games are rigged. And the only way to win is to not play at all. Number 7. She will burn a bridge to protect a future you haven't even earned. She doesn't just watch people. She watches patterns, subtle shifts in behavior, small ego flares, quiet power grabs, or values that start to erode under pressure. Most people ignore those signs, especially when things are still good on the surface. But the Sigma female? She zooms out. She doesn't just ask, "Who are you now?" She asks, "Who are you becoming? And do I want to be anywhere near that?" She doesn't wait for you to turn into a problem. If she sees your trajectory heading toward entitlement, emotional laziness, manipulation, or self-destruction, she'll exit early. Even if you're still being nice, even if things seem stable, she doesn't need a final blow to justify her departure. The hint of future misalignment is enough. To others, this looks cold or premature, but to her, it's self-protection. Not from your present, but from the version of you she knows is coming. She sees the seeds before they sprout. The ego hiding under charm, the selfishness behind small favors, the disrespect buried in the tone of a joke. Most people don't spot it until it explodes. She sees it before it even forms. And she doesn't feel guilty about cutting ties early. She knows how much time, energy, and peace she'll save by walking away before the damage shows up in full. She's not waiting to be lied to again, betrayed, or disappointed. She's not giving you time to evolve into the person she already knows she can't grow with. She will burn a bridge while you still think everything is fine, not out of cruelty, but because her future deserves to be guarded. She's not here to stick around and hope someone turns out better. She's not here to fix anyone. She walks away before the storm, not to punish you, but to protect the version of herself that's still evolving. Because some people don't need to break her to be dangerous. They just need to delay her, and that's a cost she refuses to pay. Number 8. She doesn't need your side of the story to decide. She's not sitting around waiting for your excuse, your justification, or your apology. For her, actions speak louder than any story you try to tell. Once the pattern reveals itself, the subtle disrespect, the repeated disregard, the silent dismissals, she's already made up her mind. Your side is irrelevant because the truth isn't hidden in what you say, but in what you consistently do. People waste hours, sometimes years, trying to convince her they're misunderstood or that there's more to the story. But she's seen the reruns, the same behaviors replayed over and over, despite promises or explanations. She doesn't fall for the narrative trap because she understands that stories are easy to rewrite. Patterns aren't. She trusts the quiet evidence, the missed calls, the broken promises, the way you look away when she speaks. The moments you choose convenience over loyalty, that's her proof. That's the verdict. She doesn't need a courtroom drama or a grand speech to confirm what her instincts already know. To her, waiting for your side is a waste of time and emotional energy. She values her peace too much to sit in limbo, wondering if your version will magically change the outcome. She doesn't hesitate or second guess. The signs have been flashing long before she's ready to walk away. This is why she leaves without fanfare or confrontation. She doesn't owe you a debate or an explanation. The decision was made quietly, confidently, and without the need for validation. She's not closing the door to punish. She's closing it because she's already read the book, and it's clear which chapters belong in her future and which don't. She moves forward knowing that her silence isn't ignorance or weakness, it's certainty. She doesn't need your side of the story because the truth was never in your words. It was in your actions all along. Number 9. She knows the difference between hard choices and self-betrayal. She's not afraid of hard choices. She's mastered them. The Sigma female knows that real growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from choosing what's right for your soul over what's easy for your circumstances. So when she feels the tension between staying where she's accepted and leaving to protect who she really is, she picks the harder road. Every time. Staying would be simpler. It would keep the peace, maintain the routine, and avoid awkward questions, but it would also mean silencing her instincts, lowering her standards, and shrinking just enough to make others comfortable. And that to her is the most dangerous betrayal. The kind you do to yourself in the name of keeping things together. She doesn't fear being uncomfortable. What she fears is becoming someone she can't respect. That's why she walks away when something no longer aligns with her truth, even if no one else understands it. She's not looking for applause or validation. She's looking to sleep at night, knowing she didn't abandon herself to maintain an illusion. People may say she's too extreme, too decisive, too unwilling to compromise. What they don't see is that she's spent years watching people compromise away their identity piece by piece, until there's nothing left but resentment in disguise. She refuses to be that person. She knows what it feels like to stay too long. She's done it before, and now she knows better. So yes, leaving might hurt. It might isolate her. It might bring temporary loneliness, financial strain, or emotional confusion. But it won't leave her wondering if she betrayed herself just to be liked, loved, or accepted. She chooses the path with fewer handouts but more integrity. And that's what makes her different. She doesn't just protect her peace. She protects the woman she's becoming, even when it costs her the comfort of who she used to be. Number 10. She doesn't just burn the bridge, she studies the ashes. She doesn't walk away from wreckage without understanding how the fire started. The Sigma female doesn't just move on blindly, she dissects the aftermath. She wants to know where she ignored the signs, where she overextended, where she gave too much to someone who gave too little, not to dwell, but to level up. Every bridge she burns becomes a lesson, not a loss. While others flee the mess and numb themselves with distractions, she stays in the silence. She combs through conversations in her head, rewinds the subtle betrayals, studies her own blind spots, not out of regret, but to make sure she never repeats the same emotional math again. She's not afraid to hold herself accountable. That's her edge. People mistake her silence after a fallout as indifference. It's not, it's observation. She's building a sharper framework, emotional architecture that won't collapse under charm, convenience, or potential. She doesn't trust words anymore. She trusts patterns, actions, consistency, and after the burn, she becomes more fluent in all three. What people don't realize is that she's not just walking away, she's evolving through the exit. Her standards rise, her tolerance sharpens. The next person will never be able to access her with the same softness, the same blind optimism. She's not bitter, she's informed. By the time she builds the next bridge, it won't be made of hope or assumptions. It'll be reinforced with boundaries, wisdom, and steel-edged discernment. Fireproofed, not because she's paranoid, but because she's learned. She refuses to become cynical, but she also refuses to be naive. That's the thing about her. When she burns a bridge, it's not an impulsive act. It's a calculated reset. And from the ashes, she doesn't just rise, she rebuilds smarter, stronger. And this time she knows exactly what the fire looks like before it even sparks. Number 11. She doesn't forgive small things because they reveal big character. She's not the type to wait for the dramatic betrayal. For the Sigma female, it's the small things that speak the loudest. The offhand comment laced with envy. The joke that stings a little too deep. The way someone conveniently forgets what mattered to her. While others brush these moments off, call them petty, or not that serious, she knows better. She knows those small fractures are previews of bigger breaks to come. She pays attention to what most people excuse. The forgetting of boundaries, the subtle power plays, the way someone treats her when they think she's not paying attention. These aren't accidents to her, they're reveals. And she doesn't need a betrayal to be loud for it to matter. A whisper of it is enough. One careless moment can tell her everything about the blueprint of someone's character. To outsiders, it might seem like she ends relationships too fast. They'll say she's overreacting or that she should let the little things go. But they don't understand that what she calls a deal breaker, they call a detail. The difference is, she's the one who won't be blindsided later. She knows that letting small wrongs slide isn't maturity. It's a setup, a way of telling people, I'll tolerate this. And the moment she does that, she starts betraying herself, one overlooked slight at a time. That's not a price she's willing to pay for connection. Not ever again. So yes, she will burn a bridge over something most would call minor, but she knows it's not the size of the action. It's the truth it exposes. And when she sees that truth, she acts, not out of anger, out of alignment, because she doesn't wait for the roof to cave in. She leaves when she sees the cracks in the foundation, and she never apologizes for it. Number 12. She doesn't believe in a history as an excuse. She's not impressed by how long someone's been around. The Sigma female doesn't see history as a badge of honor. She sees it as context. And if that context includes years of unspoken resentment, boundary violations, or emotional debt, then those years aren't a reason to stay. They're proof she should have left sooner. People love to guilt her with time. But you've known them forever. You've been friends since high school. They've always been in your life. But to her, that logic is broken. You don't keep moldy food because it used to be fresh. You don't hold on to a sinking ship because you boarded it 10 years ago. Time spent is not the same as value given, and she knows the difference. If a person has been in her life for a decade but still can't respect her growth, support her boundaries, or offer mutual loyalty, she doesn't see that as a relationship. She sees it as emotional squatting. And she has no problem evicting someone who's lived rent-free in her life, simply because they've been there. She's not cold, she's not disloyal, she's aware. She's aware that people change, seasons shift, and just because someone had a chapter in her story doesn't mean they deserve the rest of the book. She's done clinging to ghosts of better times. Nostalgia won't save a connection that's already rotting under the surface. What some call loyalty, she calls emotional laziness. Staying in something that no longer aligns with her values just because it's old is self-betrayal dressed as tradition, and she's not here for that. She knows that the real flex isn't keeping people around forever. It's knowing when to cut ties with someone who no longer fits the future she's building, even if they helped build the past, especially if they're now holding her back. To her, 10 years of mistreatment doesn't justify staying, it condemns it. The Sigma female's way of burning bridges is not about drama or destruction. It's an art of preservation, a fierce declaration of self-worth and uncompromising boundaries. She doesn't burn bridges to hurt others. She burns them to protect herself from being diminished, drained, or deceived. Every bridge she sets aflame is a statement. She values her peace more than people's approval, her growth more than comfort, and her truth more than history. She walks away not because she's reckless, but because she's courageous enough to choose herself when the cost of staying becomes too high. Her exits are quiet but seismic, leaving behind lessons written in ashes and a resolve forged in solitude. The Sigma female isn't looking for permission to leave or validation for her decisions. She's the author of her own story, and she edits ruthlessly, cutting out anything that doesn't serve her highest self. In a world addicted to endless explanations and second chances, she offers a different kind of power. The power of knowing when enough is enough, and acting on it without hesitation. That is her freedom. That is her strength. And that is why, when she burns a bridge, she doesn't look back. Because what's behind her is no longer her story to tell. If you found this insight into the Sigma female's fierce independence as powerful as I did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a moment of truth like this. Like the video if it resonated with you. Drop a comment below to share your thoughts or experiences. I want to hear from you. And please, share this with someone who needs to understand the power of walking away on their own terms. Your support helps this community grow stronger and wiser every day.